Okie dokie. So, first and foremost, I would like to apologize for the audio quality. I have tried multiple microphones, multiple audio settings. I've tried switching it to Wumbo. Nothing has worked, and the audio sounds kind of robotic-y. So, I put a lot of time into fixing it. Didn't quite work, didn't hit the mark, but I feel like it's clear enough to where you can get the point, and hopefully my amazing voice can kind of make up for it a little bit. And if it doesn't, just want to throw it out there that I did try to fix it. So, show must go on. Kicking a consensus. I did my hidden intellectualism topic on my interest in combat sports. So let's get started. Combat sports, the most intense, awesome sport that you can participate in. My particular combat sports were kickboxing, boxing, and then the martial art of taekwondo. Why I started wasn't really up to me. I got my arm twisted into it and kind of got dragged kicking and streaming to the dojo because I was definitely afraid to do it. I did not. I was always an athlete growing up. I played every single sport besides football. But for some reason, this in particular, I was just very anxious and like touching other people and just I didn't like it. I wasn't down for it, but I ended up doing it, and it was one of the best things I ever was forced to do. The level I reached, I believe I reached the official rank of green belt, but I had a lot of anxiety. I got bullied a lot growing up, and my self-esteem was very low, and it was very difficult for me to test in front of 100 plus people, which is understandable for a 15-year-old to have a hard time testing in front of people. So I ended up instructing. I got my black dobok, which is the black uniform, and I ended up instructing the lower ranks and leading some of the classes, which was really cool. I enjoyed doing it. Uh, I have a picture of my leadership instructor manual on the next slide, but I really enjoyed doing that. The reason I stopped was not because it's $100 a month to participate in it, which I ended up getting to go for free a little bit because I was instructing, which is cool, but was because I was diagnosed with severe fistulating Crohn's disease at the age of 15. So, as we can see in the top left picture, I was giving myself self injections in my stomach. That was methotrexate, I believe, which is a not fun drug to have at such a young age, let me tell you. And then in the bottom left, I believe that was my first or second time going to Shands for um, infusions. So I would sit for 4 to 6 hours and get infusions of Remicade. So the questions I want my listeners here, my peers, my classmates, to ask themselves during this presentation are: how would you react to someone attacking you? If someone comes up and shoves you, if someone comes up and slaps you, whatever, how would you react? I know this is kind of a rare situation, but it's worth knowing, and I think there is a confidence that comes from knowing you can defend yourself in any situation. I think everybody kind of has a plan until they get punched in the face. Even if you want to sit there and go, "Ooh, I'm tough," I did this or that, I could kick their butt. Can you really though? Like, you don't know your natural reflex to that until it happens, until you're in the area of combat sports. So I think that's important to ask if you've never participated. How do you think you would react if someone pushes you in front of your girlfriend or your kid or whatever situation you're in? How would you react? And the second question is, do you like who you are as a person, and do you love yourself? I think that's incredibly important to ask yourself on a semi-regular basis, regardless of what your interests are. But I think that's important to discuss, especially when it comes to bettering yourself with something like martial arts. Okay, so there's the leadership manual. The benefits of combat sports. The tenets that we preached at the beginning of every single class were courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self control, indomitable spirit, sir. That went every single class. We rotated monthly, so maybe January we'd dive into courtesy and we'd really talk about it. And we'd do activities and worksheets and stuff. And we really hammered home that it wasn't about the combat as much as defending yourself and really bettering your character and being the best person you can be, which sounds very preachy and sappy, and I don't really like wording it that way, but it's true, and I think it was really healthy. Combat sports teach respect, how to take criticism, and how to follow instructions. I think most adults could learn these skills and make good use of them. I feel like most adults I come in contact with have no idea how to take criticism, no idea how to follow instructions, and they don't respect each other. So, if you've never tried combat sports, I really recommend taking a martial arts class because the skills I learned are invaluable. The intense exercise. As a benchmark, I would say a healthy person that's already in shape burns about 600 to 700 calories in a normal Taekwondo class, in a normal hour class. Uh, Obviously, if you're overweight or out of shape, that is a lot more. You can burn upwards of 1,000. We had ibuprofen in the back because the workouts were so intense, and it became an ongoing joke when somebody would come in, we'd give them an ibuprofen and be like, "You're going to need this tomorrow," because we really worked people. And the knowledge you gain about yourself and who you are and your willpower from doing workouts that intense and reaching failure over and over and over again is invaluable. You don't get that from sitting in a classroom or sitting online and learning. Like, it's just not the same. The unique bonds with people and how to maintain relationships. This kind of dips into emotional management that I have right below this. But when you fight somebody, well, to put this on a level that most people can understand, when you argue with someone you care about, you kind of have this special, like, intimate moment. You're like arguing, you're kind of exposing your weakness, and it's that tenfold when you're physically fighting somebody. When you're fighting someone and you're like really reaching your limits and you're reaching failure, you just like have this undeniable respect for the other person that you're doing that with. It's a bond, not like some romantic thing. You don't end up kissing at the end of it, but it's valuable. You meet a lot of friends and form a lot of deep relationships from fighting. The emotion management part, it's incredibly hard to go home and be pissed off uh, after punching things and fighting people and letting all your anger out and working out at the intensity that I just mentioned. It's very hard to do that. I've tried. Uh, I think a lot of people go home from work or they don't really handle the things in their head properly and they just kind of let their emotions go wild. And it really affects people's relationships and the way their work ethic and everything else because they're just unhappy, which goes into like loving yourself and liking who you are and how you do things. It's all connected. It's very hard to exercise and to push yourself to this limit and then go home and also be mad and yell at your husband or wife. It's very hard to do. Uh, you let so much anger out, you vent. It's the best. I love it. And probably the most important benefit from combat sports and participating in them is that you look like a badass. Uh, I'm allowed, coming from someone who was overweight their whole life, well, until their teenage years, and got bullied constantly and was afraid to even like raise their hand in class, to being at where I am now, I feel like a badass. It's the confidence you gain and the love for yourself that you gain from participating in something like this and pushing your limits and seeing how strong each individual person really is and learning to appreciate yourself in your hard work. I'm going to use it again. It's invaluable. It's amazing. It's seeing the transformations of people when they first came into my class to when they ended up eventually leaving my class was amazing. It would bring a tear to my eye seeing someone come in at 300 pounds and then even if they left at 250, just like the confidence they had in themselves was phenomenal. It made me so happy. So I think that's very important. So, intellectualism in combat sports. The intelligence in learning so many forms of maneuvers. Most of our forms were at least 50 moves. So, moving your body, putting up different guards, throwing different types of punches. It's a lot to memorize. I think that's underrated when it comes to martial arts. A lot of people don't talk about it. Studying fights and fight film, whether you have an opponent or you're just studying someone like Mayweather, or you're studying Conor McGregor, popular names. Um, they there's so many micro movements and so many things that they do in their attitude and their mindset and how they carry themselves and the way they fight. You study these things and you learn vicariously through their actions. Uh, it goes to say the body kinesthetic learning type as well, hands-on learning, and a lot of people learn things in combat that they carry on to other parts of their life. Uh, learning your body's limits goes into that as well. You definitely learn your limits when it comes to willpower and your brain's limits, especially. How long can I keep doing this? For me, I can stay up 48 hours now and then sleep 24 hours subsequently. But because I know my brain's limits, I know exactly when I'm too tired to do something, when I need to go exercise, when I'm upset. I know my limits and I know my reach. Applying the skills you learn in combat sports to every other area of your life, the respect you learn, the character that you build, everything is just so important. Obviously, fighting is a byproduct of that, and you can defend yourself, and you do look really cool. That's awesome. But I cannot emphasize enough the power of being a good person and loving yourself and having confidence, and the power of attraction is very real. My closing remarks: how combat sports changed my life. I was a chubby loser with no friends, and I ended up being what people would consider popular, having a beautiful girlfriend, having a beautiful life, and truly being the role model that I wish I had growing up. I'm extremely happy with my progress. My Crohn's is in remission, and I have become my favorite person on this planet. And because of combat sports, that was possible. That would not have been possible without me having that outlet. Why I recommend combat sports? Obviously, from everything I've said, that is why I recommend combat sports. It's one of the most healthy things you can possibly do. I think swimming is good as well. And there are a few other sports. I saw somebody doing horseback riding. Those are also very valuable, but I feel like combat sports is just a different animal. Final words for people watching. Uh, I hope everybody can be nice to each other during this time. I know that there are a lot of social issues and there's a lot of arguing and just nasty going on. And if it hasn't been painfully obvious from me writing this, I don't like seeing people get hurt. I don't like seeing people uh, suffer and deal with that. So I just encourage everybody to be as accepting as humanly possible without being stepped on and to take care of yourselves. Be positive a little. I hate that. I hate when people do the whole preachy, be positive. But seriously though, like be nice to each other, be positive. And thanks for sharing this experience with me. This is the first time I've been in school in 7 years. So thank you, Miss Wagle. I'm sure I butchered that for answering all of my very obvious questions. Thanks for the students who responded in discussion forums. And I hope everybody has a good next semester or a good life or whatever the heck you end up doing. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.